This is Political Core, the non-PC edition of The Aaron Cruz Show, where you decide the topics. The only place where you get the news you want from the people you trust. We are your balanced and accurate information resource.
Good evening and welcome to the Aaron Cruz Show, coming to you from San Diego, California. This is Political Core. I am your hostess, Aaron Cruz. Thank you for joining me. Tonight's topic is none other than Obamacare. And again, the constipated Congress and the complete and corrupt media. So I'm sure you've followed it a little bit today and over the last few weeks. We have it basically just in that McConnell has gone back and with some back and forths, and he has now announced that we will do a repeal and replace later effort. So now when we look at this, what's gone on in Congress over the last few years, I'd say even during Obama's era and term in office, we have seen basically a group of legislators who have done nothing more than lied to the American public and gone back and forth as to what they're going to do based on, I would say, none other than what deals that they can make behind the scenes. So the last 6 months, actually 7 months of Trump's first term in office, since he took office, actually, he's pushed really hard to get Congress in a position where they would go ahead and follow up and basically do what they were hired to do when they ran for office, which is to repeal and replace or repeal Obamacare. And I believe in what I've seen that he's been rather successful, in terms of what he can actually do to get them to actually move. Because while Obama was in office, many of these same people promised and touted, ran on, and won re-election, saying, that they were going to do something, and they never did. So this last 7 months, we've seen it go back and forth and back and forth. Now, in the last 3 weeks, we have had a Senate, the AHCA, passed in the House and was passed to the Senate. And then this last 3 weeks, we've pretty much seen the Senate just drag their tail feathers, okay? And they've gone back and forth on what they're going to do. They've put forth a couple of ideas and bills. They've actually, Senator Ted Cruz, and Mike Lee have also put forth amendments, which were quite revolutionary in terms of the ideas that they came up with to try to reduce premiums, reduce some of those deductibles and overall healthcare costs by creating a platform by which there would be more competition for insurers and options as far as consumers and what consumers would have, taxpayers would have in terms of buying different levels of insurance outside of the current levels that we have in Obamacare. Which need to meet those 10 criteria points. So I know we've talked about this last week a little bit and touched base on it a little bit, but I kind of want to go into it a little bit more. And when we look at the AHCA and what was proposed by the House and passed by the House, and when it was passed over to the Senate, there was much confusion as to whether or not that this was a good bill. And of course, the Democrats aren't for it at all. And the taxpayers and the general public, many of them just don't know what is in the bill. And I think there is some confusion, misleading with the media and baiting and giving false information to the general public, which is unfair. But nonetheless, this bill has been put forth to the Senate. The Senate went ahead and looked at it, and they didn't like it at all. So what they did was they picked it apart, and they kind of came up with something that was what people call another Obamacare light. And then Senator Cruz and Lee came up with these amendments to go with it. Well, we had what would look like the appropriate votes, the 51 votes that it would take to pass the bill. And then Senator McCain, leave it to McCain to need to go have a surgery. I really feel bad for the guy. It's really sad that he had to have this surgery and all of this, but it's just, why is it? And everybody in the media and Donald Trump, even himself, President Donald Trump himself, the pundits, the commentators, they are all about this 51st vote. My question is this, is we have plenty of people in Congress, all right? We have plenty of people in Congress, Democrats and Republicans alike. Doesn't mean left or right, doesn't mean Democrat or a D or an R behind your name. How is it that we can't get 3 or 4 more votes that say, you know what, the American public has been screwed over? The American public are seeing higher premiums. They're seeing higher healthcare costs. These policies are just not meeting the needs of the people. People who don't need birth control have to pay for birth control coverage. I mean, you name it, okay? Why is it that we can't get 3 or 4 more votes that say, you know what, the American public deserves more? The taxpayer deserves more. They don't need to be paying, for able-bodied people and, to be on Medicare or, Medicaid receiving benefits. They need something that's equitable. They need, more food on their tables, more buck in their pocket, okay, and the ability to save for their retirement. Why is it we can't get a few more votes to say that the American public deserves more? I mean, Senator McCain pretty much screwed the American public. No. I will say that there are more than a handful, a couple of dozen Democrats even in the Senate and in Congress, I would say in its entirety. No, let's not even move it to the Senate. I mean, we're talking about the Senate vote, yes. But, I mean, in Congress itself, I mean, they are screwing the American people. That's what it comes down to. They're screwing the taxpayer, all for their almighty deals and what's best for them and what it is that they do. And it's wrong. So, because we can't get that one vote, the media goes full left, hard left, and they say, failing Obamacare. I mean, I don't know how many titles of different papers I saw this morning where it was how Obamacare failed, how this. I mean, how the Senate, couldn't come to a deal, Republicans failing again, the president's bill, yada, yada. I mean, the titles of these media outlets and their propaganda are just outrageous. I'm going to tell you, if the roles were reversed and this was Obama's administration and this was their bill that they wanted to pass, boy, would those titles be flipped. Okay? And so what I'm seeing is a complete and utter bastardization of the situation, by media. It's complete corruption, one-sided reporting, has nothing to do what's good for the American public, has nothing to do what's good for our economy, has nothing to do with what's right. It has all to do with agenda. And that agenda is making sure that the American people are screwed, that the person who gets the free health care on the taxpayer's back is the one who's going to be getting more almighty dollar and benefits. And it's just so wrong. So those few more votes that we could get, if just a few of those senators could see that, there's a way to do this. There's a way to come together. There's a way to pass policy and new legislation or regulation or, what have you, that could benefit both sides of the coin. Because I'm going to tell you what, the truth is this. The truth is that if we make and we instill policy and legislation that is balanced, that sees premiums go down, that sees deductibles go down, that sees more money put in the taxpayer's wallet, okay? Cuts back on taxes. Sure, there may be a few people that lose out on those types of benefits, but I'm going to tell you it's going to boost the economy. The all-over number is going to be that jobs will increase. It's really quite flipped. It's really, really manipulated. So when that news came out that there were going to be two more senators drop out of this vote, they made the margin even wider. And these weren't Democrats. These were Republican senators. And it's just, to me, it's disgusting. It's disgusting that they can't come together to find a middle ground. And what we have to look at here, I think, is this. Is that when McConnell comes around after he sees those two Republican senators say, we just don't like this bill anymore. And of course they come up with their reasons. And, I don't even want to go into the reasons why, because it's really kind of water under the bridge at this point. Because what McConnell says now is he says the same thing that was said, I don't know how long ago. We were pushing as Sentinels, with the Heritage Foundation and some of the Tea Party patriots. We were saying, repeal, figure out a deal, and then replace. There's a 2-year window. And I talked about this several times in several shows, that if they repeal Obamacare in entirety, there is a 2-year window by which Obamacare will be dialed down, essentially, and die out, if you will. It's not an immediate tomorrow catastrophe that the media is now going to be throwing in our faces. Be on the watch out for that. It's a 2-year dial down. So McConnell has basically come out and he has said, let's go ahead and do the repeal and replace later. Well, why didn't they do this in the first place? This is the thing. To me, it's like they're just yanking the chain. They're yanking the chain, and are you going to get something replaced later? And I know there are a lot of people out there that are just all well and fine with not replacing Obamacare, and that's fine. We can fight on that another day. And I am in agreement, and I've said this before in my other shows, I am in agreement. Bad legislation is not better than no legislation. No legislation is better than bad legislation. But on the whole, my concern is this, is that the House passed something that I think is not the best, but I think it does have good provisions in it. I think it holds on to some things that might be beneficial for many different people, in not only just the consumers and the taxpayers, but also people who are needy and need a hand up, not a handout. And then when the Senate passed or is looking at their legislation, and Mike Lee and Senator Cruz added in their ideas in terms of their amendment, that was a balanced piece, a component that would provide for nice stability. And at least it would be a start in the right direction and easing, if you will. My thing is, with the back and forth that we've seen over the last 7 months, and with what McConnell has done over the last 5 years, I don't trust him. And I know I'm not alone. And his record is nothing more than just he's a backdoor deal maker, and I don't trust him. So I have to say that, when we look at what's being proposed by him now, which is the 2-year, repeal entirely, replace later with the 2-year window, go for it. Okay? But beware. Because I think what we're going to see in the media is it's just going to escalate, and this is what I think he's doing. He's going to allow and actually encourage an escalation of the agenda and topic there. And in terms of the left agenda and topic there, it will inflate and inflame the left and give them more ground by which to fight as the midterms come around. And I don't think we need that. I don't think we need that as a party, and I don't think we need that as a people. But that's just that's just strictly my opinion. But when Donald Trump came out and he encouraged a repeal and replace later, there was such a push from the left that he had failed. Now, I want to go into this for just a second. We only have a few more minutes here. I want to go into this for just a second. I think bigger than passing what's in the Senate now with the amendments from Cruz and Lee, bigger than, passing full repeal and a replace later, bigger than that, we as a people, we have to come together. We have to get behind Donald Trump. We have to be in a position where we stand united against the media and the defamation of the left, because I'm going to tell you, they are going to do a full onslaught and try to weaken Trump's position, weaken his perspective in terms of his ability to get things done. Okay? And so on that front, there are going to be many, many different pieces that come out as the Senate moves forward in what they have decided to do. There are going to be things that come out from Tea Party Patriots, from the Heritage Foundation, and other major platforms. I suggest you get connected, and I suggest that you help and unite, trying to get the information out there that's accurate on the different proposals that come forth, and be part of that solid front that backs up Donald Trump and backs up the administration, because we're going to need all the clout we can get, because it's going to be an attempt to do a full down takeout. And that's on top of the current coup that's going on and trying to unseat the president. So I'm hoping that information helped a little bit. I am currently on travel, like I had said. I would like to, after I post this piece, I will go ahead and I will attach the documentation that goes with it, so you can have resources. There's also a toolkit that's out there that I passed around for some other actions going on in legislation that's been presented. I'll go ahead and I'll repost that again as well. I just think it's so important, with the media inflamed as it is, and the full onslaught that we've seen to unseat Trump, that we definitely, no matter what happens in the House, no matter what happens in the Senate with this health care bill, that we push for either repeal and replace, and that we fully back the president 100%. We have to remain united. There is no wavering. Okay? And I also know that I mentioned that I would talk about London, and what I saw in London this last week. I'm not sure that I have too much time to talk about it. I did a full show the other day, and unfortunately, it didn't it didn't post with audio. And so I would like to re-record that again for you. I'll touch base just a little bit here about what I saw. So in relation to our current administration, and even what we see with healthcare reform right now in the United States, the UK and England, specifically what I saw in London, I know many of you have been asking about, is the situation over there as bad as what we've seen on the media? And I would have to say yes. My experience with the English and locals, unbelievable people. I loved all of the individuals I met and was introduced to, just kind people, open hearts, warm people. Unfortunately, their communities have been struck with a massive migration and infiltration of their great nation. And unlike the United States, we have a big pond between us and the Middle East and Europe. Unfortunately, England does not. I mean, in terms of, their proximity is pretty close. So they have definitely from what I'm understanding and speaking to the locals there, the last 5 years have been really, really horrific and impacted their economy and the taxpayers in terms of, benefits being given out to immigrants. And, it's what they call it is the changes. They kept saying the changes that they've seen. And it was so hard because my heart really went out for these people, the people of England, because, they're a much older country than ours. And to see that slowly and then ever increasingly, just the last 5 years, that their areas have been taken over with what looks like Middle Easterners and others. It's tragic, and I would have to say specifically Muslims. And it was a real presence there. It wasn't just something that you wouldn't just see a Muslim here or there. They were everywhere, and it wasn't just in one area. It was everywhere I went, and increasingly at night you would start to see, and I didn't stay out past dusk, but towards the evening you would see the women would disappear. There weren't any women out, and then the younger Muslim men would start coming out, and that was just it was visible, and it just is a shame. It's a shame. And I didn't see so much of the aggression. It looked like most of the people there were living peaceably. But what I'm understanding and talking to the general public that lived there was that definitely immigration has impacted their social structure, and they were receiving benefits that was probably the thing that among everybody I spoke to about the topic, just regular locals, they all mentioned, which was, those who are taking benefits that were, belonged to the citizens and taxpayers' money. So that was their biggest concern. Most of them had, I would say 90% of them that I spoke to were fine with immigration and those coming in as long as they were working and not taking off the system, but it was the burden on the system that bothered them. So in any case, that is in brief kind of the update and as it relates to Islam and what I saw in London. And of course, I did a bigger piece, and I'll go ahead and I'll redo that for you later on this week and make sure to post it with audio. In any case, I think that pretty much ends our show tonight. I just wanted to do that update on Obamacare and make sure that you have that information on McConnell and the vote. Please contact your Congress members. Please contact your senators and your House representatives, because if McConnell does what he says he's going to do, all right, if he decides that that's the way the Senate is going to go, and even the fact that he motioned in that direction, if we waver again and move in another direction, it just causes instability. And this is one of the things I talked about the other night, was we need stability. So please contact your Congress member, let them know what you want, see where they stand, and then reaffirm where you stand, and be firm about it. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and give you the information I give you every night when we meet. The number for Congress is 202-224-3121. That's 202-224-3121. 3121. Make sure you contact them and speak to them directly. You can also go to house.gov or senate.gov online. You can also look up other resources on my website, which is erincruz.com. That's erincruz.com. Or you can send emails and inquiries to info@erincruz.com. I am also on social media. You can reach me at Political Core, POLITICALCORE, on almost all social media platforms. And then on Twitter, I am Wagner Girly. That's WAGNERGIRLE. That's WAGNERGIRLE. As always, we want to grow together. We want to find common solutions, find common ground. And I will always, as you know, when you send me emails or you talk to me online, I will always answer any questions I can. If I can't answer them, I will forward you on to somebody who can. Do not hesitate to reach out, please. We are in this together, right? United we stand. So thank you for joining me, Erin Cruz, on Political Core, The Erin Cruz Show. Join me again on Thursday evening from 7 to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for the Queen of Politics, where we have a little bit more fun while we talk the issues, always with information you can use to make positive change in your community, in your state, and in your nation. All right, thank you, everyone, and have a blessed evening. God bless you, and God bless America.
And to learn more on how you can make an impact or about Political Core and the Erin Cruz Show, visit us online at erincruz.com. That's erincruz.com. Thank you for joining us, and see you at the same time and the same place next week.